Alright, everyone, this is another episode of Metalhead Manga Review. Today I will be reviewing a different sort of book, essentially, where is what reviewers are anime Sisu, aka the Finnish Art of Courage. Starting off on my script here. This book is just straight up awful in multiple different contexts. As you know, this is a method to understand Sisu. This in addition to what Sisu could potentially mean for me. The first two pages are actually correct as the fact that Sisu's courage, resilience, grit, tenacity, perseverance, and many other characteristics that define Finns, and how it is rare to find a Finn that brags. The book then proceeds to talk about Finns growing up as Sisu. They describe Sisu as an invisible and omnipresent force. And feel free to make whatever Star Wars joke you want. The book goes on to explaining what Sisu is and what it isn't, and what Sisu is resilience, tenacity, courage, stoicness, etc. But it's not brought up without the means to back it up. And I like to, an example I like to bring up is Dante, if you'll excuse me. From the development chronic games. As one of these excited, casual, rockstar-like nature is the antithesis to Sisu, but as the case is the ability to joke in the face of death and back it up with skill and dexterity, from playing instruments to using all sorts of weapons to facing a variety of challenges in terms of puzzles and humans he faces. Not to mention him using his money to repair buildings and compensate the families of those who were attacked by the demons summoned by Mundus. Yeah, he defies the generic stereotype of Sisu being either guys in their mid-40s with old war wounds or random researchers / media literates and other vague job descriptions who are only Sisu on the surface level. Whereas Dante is Sisu through and through. From his mindset to his physical ability to how he deals with his past and those around him, I wouldn't be surprised if he would collaborate with either children about him or ever cross Oyani and Matainan if given the chance. They proceed to tell everyone that these can exist in people that are not Finnish, but Finns are the only people that have a word for Sisu. In addition to the national motto of Finland is Sisu Saunar Salmiakki, or sometimes Sibelius, which is Finland's national modern classical composer. The book describes that Sisu is not running up a mountain, but the courage to put one foot in front of the other. The book goes on to detail how Sisu was as Finn's finest hour, whereas due to how we beat the Soviet Union with over 50 million people, around 300 million soldiers, whereas Finland had only about 3 million people, and 1 million of them soldiers. But as Finns without superior tactics, as Finns wrong, and resourceful energy and wit, outlasted the Soviet Union to the present day. All the winter war lessons of Sisu are: don't make yourself the small man unless you need to. Think outside the box in terms of using unconventional tactics to solve your problems, how to crack your knuckles when you enter the ring, and not flee from a fight. The biggest and widest applications of Sisu are, in any era, preparation for what you need to do when you need to do it. Everyday healthcare such as sleeping, eating right, fresh air, me time, etc. Keep your wits about you, especially in a time of crisis. The next page talks about how, due to Finland's midnight sun and our extreme winters, we developed our natural resistance to fight difficult environments, considering we have our over thousands of years due to being in difficult environments. In the next page, they talk about surviving Finnish winter, which, if you genuinely suffer from seasonal affective disorder, the advice would be to hibernate, eat, go to sauna, and go outside even during the night, mostly for some cold, refreshing air, and just kind of getting acclimated to that environment. I talk about how Finns utilize Sisu as looked on by foreigners, but also downplay the idea of Sisu being solitude, both Sisu and interacting with others are not mutually exclusive. I don't like how many people I see around me are telling me to talk to other people as a means of doing things like confiding in others, building community, and saying stupid stuff like peace and spirituality, delivering the message, and loving yourself, and other sayings of people with no self-worth say. Many people who simply want some peace and quiet always get bombarded with pseudo-spiritual morons. We tell them to talk to people they don't know for purposes they don't need and to solve problems they don't have. When I can solve the problems I do have by myself, and I've always strived to. All of these are anecdotes written in my script by myself. just kind of outspelling on the ideas that are often echoed in these books. The next page is confusing because it almost directly contradicts what the previous page says by talking about silence and how Finns do not talk much. The next page contradicts the aforementioned page 36 by talking about avoiding civilization entirely and going into the wild. What are you trying to say, book? Do I talk to people or do I not? Do I partake in society or do I not? This is something that you would arbitrarily need to specify. Then they proceed to tell you how to talk to people with Sisu. Now you're just directly contradicting yourself, book. Then they proceed to talk about getting active with Sisu with activities such as ice water, swimming, bathing, skiing, snowboarding, ice skating, hockey, then forest archery. We proceed to talk about Sisu and the BS polarizing the world, and that what really only you need to do is not follow any crowd and find silent paths away from hatred. Let the fires of BS burn out when it loses the fuel of fear-mongering and rage bait. They proceed to discuss Sisu and happiness as to how you can really be happy with Sisu. Quick tea break. Regardless of how you're going to interpret it, so long as you have the balls to exist as yourself despite it all, that is Sisu. As the end, and unironically would not recommend this book due to how convoluted and surprisingly antithetical it is to Sisu. If you want a tutorial on how Sisu works, ask anyone from a rally driver to a guitarist to a shaman to Pekka Puolta, the most famous Finnish weatherman. But do not ask Jolan Nyland. Her answers are contradictory and difficult to actually get to the point. Overall, wouldn't recommend reading.